Okay, let's go over the Facebook/Meta Conversions API. I'm going to draw out some diagrams because I know that this can be extremely complicated and difficult to understand because Facebook is complicated and difficult to understand. So I think that the reason it's so complicated is because it's a lot of technical debt where Facebook started out pretty simple and got more and more complicated as time went on. And, now the platform is so complex and difficult to understand that I had a real tough time trying to figure this out. So I'm going to take what I learned and try and teach you what I learned about the Facebook Conversions API and how the Facebook ads platform works in general. And this is going to be a little bit technical, so it's mostly going to be for the developer crowd. All right, so let's start with kind of a drawing or a diagram. What you're going to do at first is you're going to want to go to this website. Oops. Apparently I can't draw. That's not going to work. Let's see. How do I make it so I can draw? I guess we're just gonna use sticky notes because that's what I got. You're gonna want to go to business.facebook.com. Okay. All right. So this is where you're going to want to go, and this will kind of be like your hub. You're going to spend very little time here, but if you go to Facebook or business.facebook.com, that'll be a good starting point. And from there, there's going to be two places that you are going to want to visit. So when you're on business.facebook.com, you're going to go to the bottom left corner, and there's going to be a search icon, and you're going to search for one of two things. The first thing is the ads manager. The ads manager, okay? And then when you search for that, you can find it. So this will be, let's see, how do we do shapes? Arrows. Oh, nice. We're not used to doing this. I'm just a guy here, all right? And we'll do another one. And this one's going to go up here. And we're going to add a sticky note. All right, and this one is going to be the events manager. All right, so you're gonna from business.facebook.com, you're gonna search for one of these two things, and these two screens right here, the events manager and the ads manager, are going to be the place that you're spending the most time. So let me explain both of these things. The ads manager is pretty simple. This is where you create your campaigns and stuff to run ads, but that's not going to be very helpful for you because if you're wanting to do lead generation, it's going to say, hey, we need to know when the user that clicked the ad became a lead, and Facebook has no way of knowing that. So we have to go to the events manager and set up something that's called a tracking pixel. And in the events manager, you have, let me see if I can get this right. Sorry. Let me just look at my events manager here. Actually, let me just do it this way. I'm going to start a screen recording here. There we go. Record the entire screen. Okay, we're going. So you're going to go to, the search. So we're at business.facebook.com. Even if you got rid of this URL, where is it? Even if you got rid of this URL and just went straight to Facebook or business.facebook.com, it would take you to the exact same place. You go down into the search, and you can go to the events manager right here, and this is going to open up a new page. and you're going to come over here and click the data sources. Now, going back to our diagram here, let's do data sources. Sources. So this is going to have data sources. Now, you could have a million different data sources, right? But for our purposes, it doesn't really matter that much. It's just for organizational purposes. And the data sources, you could receive data from one of two places, a tracking pixel, or you could receive it from the Conversions API. Conversions API. All right? I hope that you're understanding this. I wonder if I could just like do this one. Sorry. I'm doing the best I can here. I want to make this simple for everybody, but unfortunately I'm not very well prepared. But if I did prepare, this would never get done and you guys would never see it because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So yeah. So what is a data source? A data source is basically all the information about what users clicked your ad and what their email addresses are and things like that. And it gets that information, actually, we'll flip these around. It gets that information from one of these two places, either a tracking pixel or a Conversions API. Now, what's the difference between these two things? So a tracking pixel is in the user's browser. So you don't even have, once your server gives them the web page, the tracking pixel takes over and all of their interactions happen between the user's browser and Facebook.com itself. So it's actually pretty cool because if you install a tracking pixel onto your website, that's basically all you would need. At least that would be the case, except iOS 14 came out and basically made this not completely useless, but pretty useless because most people who are on iOS will reject all their cookies and the tracking pixel does no good. So what we do instead is we install the Conversions API, not in the user's browser, but on our server. So when the server gets information about the user, it will send that to the data source instead. And the reason that this is kind of a good thing is a bad thing is because if you are the tracking pixel is super easy. You just plug it into the head of your web pages and Facebook and the user's browser completely takes over and you have to do nothing after that. It takes care of everything, it tracks everything. But because of that iOS 14 update, we have to do a lot more work. And basically what we're doing is we're actually asking the user for information and then we're sending it back to the data source. And this is, at least from the user's perspective, nothing's really changed. Because what happens is when a user clicks an ad, it sends them to your website and it sends them to the website with their click identifier information, which basically is a unique identifier that tells that Facebook can use to know what who that user is, their email address, and everything. And when they click the ad, that identifier is actually in the URL string. So all you have to do is take that, and then when the user does stuff, you can use the Conversions API to send that identifier back with the packet, and Facebook still knows all of their information. It's just the tracking pixel is easier because the server didn't have to handle that interaction. It would just go straight from the browser back to Facebook. But with the Conversions API, you actually have to collect that information from the user and send it over to Facebook. And the user doesn't have to manually do any of that. Since you have that unique identifier number that comes with them when they in the query string when they click the ad, you can just capture that information, store it, do whatever you want with it, and then whenever the user does something, you just send that with the packet so that the data source can track those events. Yeah, so that's the gist of it. Now, what does that actually look like? Because I know that that's kind of complicated. So instead of using that tracking pixel, well, actually, Facebook recommends that you use both because sometimes having the tracking pixel it's just easier and it doesn't matter that much. But in most cases, it's good to use the Conversions API. So what do we need to do in order to get that up and running? So we're over here in the data sources, and then you click on data sources. And now we see all of our, let's see, you got to come over here and switch over to the correct profile. That's important. And also this, if you go back to data sources, once you're on the correct profile, you can see all of this is the list of all of your data sources. And you also want to make sure if you go into the top right, that you're on the correct profile, because sometimes you're not. So there's like, I don't know, it's complicated. There's like profiles within profiles. So those are the two areas that you can look for the correct profile. The first one is right here on the left side. The second one is on the right side. And you just have to find the right one that matches with your ads. So what you're going to do is you're going to come up here to create a custom conversion. Actually, the easiest way to create a data source is, it's weird. It's complicated. There's a lot of different things in a lot of different areas. So let's go down here back to our search and let's go to the Ads Manager. And you can see when you come over to your campaigns and you go to create an ad, it will prompt you at some point during the stages of creating an ad to create like a data source. And then it kind of leaves you hanging, like, okay, I was prompted to create this data source, and then now what do? It sort of like leaves you hanging. It's a little bit odd. So then at that point, you just leave it in draft, and then you come back down to search, and you come back over to the Events Manager, and then you can kind of pick up where you left off, creating that data source. And then once you pick up where you left off, so how do you create, you have like a data source now, once you create it through the ad, but then there's two things you could do. You could either create a tracking pixel or a Conversions API or both. And in order to do that, you go to Manage Integrations, and this is where you can create both of those things. And so, that's kind of how you do it. Now, this video is not necessarily for anybody but myself. I'm just trying to remember how all of this stuff works because it's complicated, and if I have to come back to this later, I want to remember how to do it. So, yeah, that's kind of the diagram of how this works. So in the Ads Manager here, you can create your data source from the Ads Manager. So how would that work? Yeah, so you're creating it from your Ads Manager. Data. Manager when setting up a new ad. Okay. All right, so this is what the process looks like when you're starting to set up a new ad. First, you go to business.facebook.com, you click the search icon, you go to the Ads Manager, and then you start creating an ad. You just click Create a New Ad, and then it's going to walk you through the steps of creating an ad. And then at the point where it's saying, hey, you need to set up tracking pixels and conversions API, you can create the, what do you call it? The data source from the ads manager, and then it's going to leave you hanging. And then you have to come back to your business.facebook, go to the events manager, and then find that data source that you created. So it's really important that you name it properly. And then when you're on there, you can use that manage integrations button to create both a tracking pixel and a conversions API. And that's sort of how it works. All right. Yeah, I think that's basically as deep as I can go in this video. But that's the best that I can do for right now. I might try and come back later and do a little bit more, but this is enough for me to remember how to do it. Yeah. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.